Hello, this is Dr. Grande. Today I will analyze the case of Dinh Bowman. First I'll look at the background of this case, move to the timeline of the crime, then offer my analysis. Thomas Dinh Bowman was born on December 9, 1982, and lived in Seattle, Washington. He went by the name Dinh. His father was an engineer, and his mother was originally from Vietnam. Dinh was incredibly intelligent. By the age of 13, he was taking computer classes in college. In addition, Dinh was athletic. He entered national competitions for fencing. Dinh graduated from the University of Washington with a degree in electrical engineering and went to work for a company in Seattle. Eventually, he opened his own engineering company called Vague Industries, which specialized in robotics. In 2006, Dinh was acquitted on charges of burglary and first-degree theft. In 2007, he met a dentist named Jennifer Palm, and they became romantically involved. The couple married in 2008. They lived in a 4-bedroom, 2,300-square-foot house on 25th Avenue. Now moving to the timeline of the crime. On August 31, 2012, at around 7:25 p.m., the police were notified about a shooting that occurred at the intersection of 15th Avenue Northeast and Northeast 75th Street in Seattle, Washington. When the police arrived, they found a 42-year-old man named Yancey Knoll mortally wounded inside of a red Subaru. He had been driving home from his job at a supermarket when he was shot. Later, Yancey was pronounced dead at a nearby hospital. Here is what the police found during the course of their investigation. Witnesses said the killer was driving a silver BMW convertible with the top down. The vehicle left the scene quickly after the shooting, even pulling into oncoming traffic. It was captured on video surveillance as well, but the image quality was not good. The BMW and the Subaru had been side by side at a red light. The driver of the BMW fired 5 shots through the passenger side window of his own vehicle into Yancey's Subaru. So the police were on the lookout for a BMW with a broken passenger window. 4 of the bullets struck Yancey in the head and killed him. The 5th shot traveled through a window of a private residence and hit a photograph of a cat. The homeowner gave this bullet to the police. It was a 9mm and had been fired from a Glock pistol. One witness was able to help the police draw a sketch of the killer, but investigators could not identify the suspect. This changed on September 14, 2012, when the police received an anonymous tip indicating that 29-year-old Dinh Bowman was the shooter. Right away, investigators noticed that Dinh looked a lot like the suspect in the sketch. Furthermore, they learned that Dinh owned a BMW. They placed his house under surveillance. One time when he opened the garage, investigators noticed that he had a silver sports car. This was enough for a search warrant. When the police searched Dinh's garage, they realized the sports car was a BMW Z4, and they found shards of glass near the passenger door. As the investigation continued, the police learned that Dinh had made a few suspicious moves after the murder. For example, he turned off his cell phone and purchased a new one, which he registered using a false identity. He used the same false identity to get the passenger side window of his BMW replaced. Dinh paid cash for this. After replacing the window, he stored the BMW in his garage, spray-painted the wheels black, and purchased 4 new tires in cash. The new tires were inferior to the original tires, and the original tires were still in very good shape. The police searched Dinh's business and found a storage container. Inside the container, there was a slide from a Glock semi-automatic pistol. The spent cases found at the scene of the shooting were fired from a pistol using that slide. A search of Dinh's computers revealed information that didn't look too good for him. He had documents related to the investigation of the murder, as well as 2 guides for committing murder, Murder Incorporated, and the Death Dealer's Manual. In the days after the murder, he accessed an article about gunshot residue in vehicles, an article on fingerprint technology, and an article titled Arrest Proof Yourself. It would appear as though any effort to apply arrest proofing was unsuccessful because on September 21, 2012, Dinh Bowman was arrested and charged with first-degree murder. He asked for an attorney, so the police could not ask him any questions. The police interviewed his wife, Jennifer, but she answered many of their questions with the phrase, "I'm not sure." she did not offer any meaningful assistance. On November 19, 2014, Dinh went on trial for Yancey's murder. During his testimony, he admitted that he was the shooter, but claimed he acted in self-defense. Here is the story that he supplied. Dinh was driving on Interstate 5 when he accidentally cut off Yancey Knoll. This caused Yancey to become angry, and he threw a water bottle into Dinh's vehicle. Dinh tried to escape by exiting the interstate. However, Yancey pursued him to an intersection where they both stopped at a red light. At this point, Yancey threatened Dinh, threw a wine bottle into his head, and reached down toward his passenger seat, meaning Yancey was trying to reach into his own passenger seat. Fearful that Yancey was reaching for a gun, Dinh retrieved his Glock pistol and opened fire. He knew that he did this despite having no memory of the shooting itself. On December 11, 2014, Dinh Bowman was found guilty of first-degree murder. On January 2, 2015, he was sentenced to 29 years and 1 month in prison. The maximum he faced was 31 years. Ultimately, Dinh and Jennifer divorced, probably because of the murder part. Now moving to my analysis. Here are my thoughts on a few areas that stood out to me in this case. Item number 1. Dinh maintains his innocence, but there really isn't much doubt that he was guilty. He claimed that he acted in self-defense when he killed Yancey, but he could not produce any evidence to support this claim. He didn't even have the wine bottle that Yancey supposedly threw at him. There was also a mental health component to Dinh's defense. He supposedly had a dissociative episode. Conveniently, Dinh could remember everything about the incident except the actual shooting. This is just about impossible to believe. Dinh claimed that when he shot Yancey, he was not even aiming, yet he managed to strike Yancey in the head with 4 of the 5 shots. Finally, Yancey's hands were on the steering wheel when he was killed. He was not reaching toward his passenger seat. Item number 2. Dinh was pretty surprised when he was convicted and did not react well to the news. Within a few hours of the verdict, he attempted to bring an end to his own life. At Dinh's sentencing, which would have been an opportunity to ask for mercy, he had a different plan. He started off by telling the judge, "I'm disappointed the jury didn't believe me." Desperate to save her son, Dinh's mother offered to go to prison for him, which prompted the judge to state that Dinh alone was responsible for the shooting. Item number 3. During the time Dinh was married to Jennifer, they appeared to have an unusual relationship. Jennifer was the main provider for the couple. She earned about $250,000 a year. However, there was hardly any furniture in the house. When Dinh was in jail, he spoke to his wife several times. These conversations were recorded. The interactions between the couple could be described as creepy and unnerving. For example, the couple used baby talk and referred to each other using peculiar names. Jennifer called Dinh Bunny, and Dinh referred to Jennifer as Snuggles. One exchange went like this. Jennifer said, "Bunny, Bunny, how are you?" Dinh replied, "I'm doing good. How's my little snuggle cake?" Jennifer said, "I just wrote you an email." Dinh replied, "Yay." Another exchange was equally bizarre. Dinh said, "I miss so many things right now." Jennifer replied, "I know." Dinh said, "I don't have a Snuggles." Jennifer replied, "You don't have a snuggle plum next to you." This unusual communication may be indicative of an immature relational style, or perhaps Dinh was using a tactic to hide information on the calls, like he thought that law enforcement would not listen to the recordings due to the nausea and the nightmares. There are probably still officers out there who wake up at night in a cold sweat screaming, "No more Bunny and Snuggles." Item number 4. The primary mystery in this case revolves around the motive of Dinh Bowman. Why did an intelligent and creative individual with everything to live for shoot a motorist for no reason? This is just a theory, my opinion. Sometimes people who are extremely intelligent suffer in other areas. For example, they might lack common sense or struggle in social situations. Dinh appeared to be socially awkward. For example, he smiled inappropriately before his trial, and of course, there were those horrifying Bunny and Snuggles conversations. Dinh also appeared to have a tendency to become obsessed. For example, he stockpiled terabytes of information about murder, yet he did not read most of it. Perhaps having information available relieved anxiety, like he thought he might need it someday and did not want to risk it being unavailable. It's also possible that he didn't want to have to search for it, like creating a record of a search would look suspicious. In addition to this obsession, Dinh was captivated by the character James Bond. This could be a particularly important indication of how Dinh was thinking. James Bond is a curious character to focus on because he is good at everything. Just a few examples. James Bond could use any weapon with superhuman skill, including firearms, knives, swords, and explosives. His hand-to-hand combat skills were unmatched. James Bond was unbelievably intelligent, a master of disguise, multilingual, an experienced gambler, a computer hacker, and a locksmith. He knew how to do just about anything. James Bond was fast, strong, possessed seemingly endless endurance, and he could run, jump, and swim like an Olympic athlete. There was not any vehicle that James Bond could not operate, including cars, motorcycles, tanks, snowmobiles, fixed-wing aircraft, helicopters, yachts, jet skis, and submarines. Furthermore, some of these vehicles featured high-tech weapons and other gadgets which James Bond knew how to operate. As far as social skills, he was charming, sophisticated, and always had romantic interests available. Using all these amazing abilities, James Bond lived a life of adventure and excitement. Perhaps this is what Dinh was attracted to. He wanted to be the perfect secret agent and experience the associated thrills. Maybe he saw himself as a real-life James Bond. This explains accumulating knowledge about murders, buying a BMW Z4, and his interest in fencing. Furthermore, Dinh was highly interested in firearms. In one video from a shooting competition, he fired at a series of targets with impressive accuracy. Dinh was on his way to becoming the perfect assassin. The problem he had was his life was ordinary. There would never be a life of adventure. At some point, Dinh decided to force the issue. In his mind, he had a license to kill. He was not trying to stage the perfect murder, rather he just wanted the excitement of killing. On the day of the shooting, he saw Yancey and decided to murder him. Yancey did not provoke a confrontation, rather he was just in the wrong place at the wrong time. Dinh was so excited he fired through his own passenger side window. The resulting window replacement sealed his fate. Now moving to my final thoughts. This case illustrates the power of excitement-seeking combined with impulsivity. Based on his intelligence, Dinh probably could have planned a crime in a manner consistent with escaping responsibility, but his lack of impulse control was too pronounced. He felt a false sense of security and truly believed he could outsmart everyone. Ultimately, Dinh completely failed. Instead of becoming James Bond, he will spend 29 years in prison, where he won't even get a quantum of solace, and there will be no reunion of Bunny and Snuggles. Those are my thoughts on the case of Dinh Bowman. Thank you so much for watching. I'll talk to you soon.